Yeah, people, I'm back. And they're going to have a great show. Hopefully, you're going to have a great day and we're going to have a great time. And hopefully, we can do that. Somewhere along the way, even with all the crazy things going on with the day to day. Now, I wanted to get started talking about this thing about Kai Cenat doing this streaming of him and IShowSpeed was showering, streaming together. And as influencers with influence, possibly causing an influenza. Like me, possibly, like a flu, very contagious and spreading very infectiously. But possibly word through mouth. But no. Let me get back on track with this. As they were doing the live stream, putting this out there, I go back to thinking about my nephew and the weird behaviors that he was doing, and he seemed to be doing stuff like this with his friends. And then they had the whole Ray J walking in the shower and just being weird, and you just wonder, like, wait a minute, why would he even pull up to you while you're doing this? Was he following you? Is he aware of this? What is happening? Was this publicity or is this actuality? I don't know. But it's questionable. It is very weird. And nobody's talking too much about the weird qualities of this. It was an interview where they were interviewing Ray J. I don't even remember who was doing the interview or whatever. I just caught the clip of this interview, and it was like, oh, but are you gay? And he's like, oh, but why even entertain the conversation anyway? And he's just like kind of brushed it off. But in my mind, I'm like, but what is the deal? Were you trying to run up on this man, this young man in the shower? Are you trying to groom him or, something like that? What is happening? The fuck is happening? They didn't really get into it. Are they of legal age to have this man running up in their shower? I don't know. I mean, you gotta wonder. But, I mean, I'm not aware of these cats' ages or anything. Obviously, I know Ray J's way older than them. So, with that being said, I just wondered, what are they pushing? What's the agenda behind that whole little moment in streaming history? I don't know. I'm questioning it. And hopefully you're questioning things. I mean, there's so many things that's going on that makes you want to raise an eyebrow, raise some questions. Maybe some people are ready to raise some hell for all I know, and hopefully you don't get too crazy with it. I want to crash out over stuff that's going on in life, because it might not be that serious. Even though we live in some serious times, some uncertain times, with everything going on with that. But again, what was the agenda about? Is this it, people? Is this what they're trying to push on the people, the young, impressionable kids over here? Like my nephew, who possibly, would conduct himself in the same manner. Found himself going down the wrong path in life. And I'm not going to say it has anything to do with these young men streaming. But I will say it has a lot to do with the lack of parenting when they allow the internet to raise their children. They growing up with their phones and their tablets, establishing their learning, their level of understanding, the level of disassociation, possibly not really learning how to love one another, that kind of thing, because they seem to be dissociated with those kind of things. You talk about it, you're like, oh, how you doing, man? I miss you, I love you. They give you the crazy face. You're like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? That's why I stay away from everybody that I know from a certain era in life, because they just seem to have that same issue. Right around disassociated with life. When they talk about the passing of Charlie Kirk and this whole thing, and I don't want to bring it up just to, continue to do so, but there was a lot of people just compassionate, just saying some wild, crazy, hateful stuff from all walks of life on the internet about this man, and I get it. He wasn't the best individual, but I don't think that's the way to conduct yourself. But there's other things happening now. We're talking about wacky stuff happening now. Talking about this ring. They say that he would just be moving it around, fiddling with it, while he talked, and mysteriously moved after he got shot. There was people saying, "Look at the shirt." The evidence in slow motion. They're saying that the F on the shirt at one point in the framework disappears and then reappears. At one point, the shirt said "Freedom" instead of "Freedom." And it's interesting that he was wearing a shirt that says "Freedom," talking about gang cultures and violence, gun culture, and he got shot. And this marking in the shirt that I originally thought would have possibly been a mic, with the mic fold on the shirt or something. But when he got shot, this thing moves to his neck. They were saying that the way that everything went down is questionable. They saying that the blood just gushed out like a river, and that they thought there would be more splattery and more. But life is not a movie. And they were talking about looking at the hands because the ring movement and his hairline and everything else. People just wondering, what could have caused that. And I was thinking to myself, it could have just been the way that it was filmed in framework. Some people were saying that this could be, CGI glitches, where people were wondering how was he able to throw hats at people and everything else. But is this Project Bluebeam? Where you see something in front of you and you believe that it's real because it looks so convincing the way that everything is working, maybe in part with nanotechnologies, CGI, and everything else. Who knows what they can convince you of? And maybe this is something that they were doing. Maybe this is part of the way they intend to roll things out in front of us, making things look believable, interactive, even able to be touched and convinced. Who knows how far the technology really goes when it comes to what we're dealing with? Or did it really happen? Was it over, belief system? Is it a leftist and a rightist situation going to extreme blows, hiring, assassins, having political parties now just going at it with each other on some very extreme ways? I don't know. They even started this as well because of the Donald Trump conversation where he made a statement and referring to Charlie Kirk's murder and assassination in his anger. And they were saying that if you watched his hands, one of his fingers disappeared. So there's a lot of wild stuff going on. And is this somebody leaving holes in the code here? Because they say everything is done with the numbers. So that you just have to be vigilant, pay attention, keep an eye out for what's happening, see if there are glitches in what they're presenting us with, so that you don't fall for everything. But again, when things pop off, when they first happen, irrationality tends to take over. I think we all exhibit those moments. Sometimes we have calmer moments than others. Maybe sometimes we, don't have our best concentration and hats put on because of the fact that we're dealing with so many various variables, would be a good word. Different levels of stresses and life challenges, and then accompanied by, these situations that just seem to spawn from out of nowhere, catching everybody's attention and in the spotlight at the moment. And it has everybody wondering, with the viewpoints in America wrapping their heads around the reason behind it. The social media outlets, it seems like they're creating a cultural shift in front of our eyes in real time. They continuously work this area of, both sides can't come together without blows, can't have conversations, can't do anything. And then the conversations that people are having or rather race-baited, one-sided style conversations. So you gotta understand where they're putting these cultures to be clashing because they're not really coming together. Like one slice of bread and another slice of bread coming together to make a sandwich, and hopefully you're dealing with it. Hopefully you're taking a big bite out of this nutritious sandwich. Because I'm trying to be the only food for thought here, and we're talking about not just the assassination in the country, but the possibility that it was a false flag situation constructed, by, organized government officials, possibly high-tech equipment, social media availabilities, and everything else, so that we can have ideology clashes in this country at real time, causing this cultural shift, this civil unrest, as they continue to look for a civil war, the Boogaloo, as they're looking to create a reason to have one side of the nation come down on the other side of the nation with a hammer. They don't seem to meet on the ideology grounds at any point. There's two different viewpoints, two different sides of the spectrum, if you will. It seems like people are bumping heads way too often than not, and they're trying to rally individuals, the regular people like you and I, to get involved in these things, to put yourself in a place, in a space where you may not be safe anymore because you are, going at it for the wrong reasons. And, we need to just stop fighting each other and start coming together. Start thinking about things a little bit more. I'm not telling you to change your viewpoints or your ideologies. I'm just saying, use some sense of mindset. Separate your emotional selves from these conversations. Get some cleared mind so that you can go into conversation with your own thoughts, your own thinking, your own learning, and see what you come up with. You may not stay, with the same mind frame that you started with. That's why I say some people shouldn't go all out on their belief systems, as we tend to change our beliefs over time, over knowledge, over expansion. And do we have that time? Do we have that expansion? Will we ever get the knowledge? TikTok, people, TikTok, as they continue to talk about all these crazy, wild scenarios happening. I apologize. I'm getting notifications. So I'm just, checking what's going on at the same time. You never know when you're going to get an update on something that you're currently doing, currently running. And hopefully you are currently running on some coffee. Give me a second. Maybe you a tea guy or gal. Whatever. I don't know. Maybe you don't like coffee or tea or anything in the morning. Some people don't do anything in the morning. Some people wait hours before they eat. Some people can't get their day started without having some coffee and food in their system. I haven't eaten anything, honestly. I'm currently running on my second cup of coffee right now, which some people will tell you is the magic number to really take advantage of its properties, because under and over just tends not to be good for you. I don't know if that's chemistry. But again, hopefully we're making some chemistry here. Hopefully we're going to continue to make a connection, and hopefully you're going to be a part of the conversation. I've seen people saying, oh my God, you're sensitive people out here talking this crazy stuff. But I keep seeing a lot of these videos. A lot of abnormalities in the framework, and the shot for shot framework. And is that part of AI as well? Are we being manipulated by it from every angle? Will we get any real truth? Is there any way to figure this out? As sometimes people, excuse me, tend to believe that they take these public figures out of the public sight somehow, and then they tend to just come back either as themselves in a Mandela effect, or as a different character. Sorry, a different character. Because again, this is the wild world that we're living in. We don't know what we're seeing in real time is even real sometimes. There's people to question this shooting now in practically real time. It started from, oh my God, prayers for this man and everything else, to people analyzing these videos. There's people sitting down with their laptops, putting these videos through scrutiny, constantly making sure that what they're watching is authentic. And there's people questioning the news coverage over this. There's people questioning the video coverage over this. The people in question over this. The reason behind why they would do this. There's multitudes of videos of people doing signs and hand gestures, and now they're trying to get the attention and be like, oh, look, he was killed by his own people within his own campaign, or his camp, if you will. Then there's people that feel like this is all a distraction to fool you from the viewpoints. That no matter what angle, because again, there was no blood from the side angle when they showed this man get hit. It's just some weird stuff. Is it the speed of the bullet and the reaction? I mean, I don't know. Does the blood not pick up so well from beginning until it becomes a spewing thing, or does it take your time and your body to react to it? You don't bleed so quickly like some people think. It's not the movies. Is this a freak of nature and the glitch in the technology? And are they just doing whatever's necessary to, pull the people back, confuse them even more, rile them up? Are they harvesting our energies? I've heard people talking about that as well. They're giving too much energy to this whole situation. And, these people like to harness your energies. Oh my God. And you're like, I don't, maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But I've heard that before. And, I was also going over the whole thing of the way his body was reacting to the hit and this shirt situation that was looking weird. People questioned whether, he was there throwing hats in real life, or it was just somehow a drone throwing hats. A bunch of drones and light camera sources and everything. I don't know. This is the world that we live in, that people question reality. And it might just seem like it's a wacky time that we live in a wacky world. And I know this may just not be a topic that people would like to have talked about and possibly, going to be offended. And I apologize. I would like to use more sensitivity towards, these conversations. But sometimes I don't know if we are allowed the time frames, to have that. Because again, everything is happening so quickly now. Nothing is guaranteed. As they tell us, they constantly remind us that there's no guarantees that we're going to have another day. And I myself battled through my health issues through this year several different times. Now I have to deal with figuring out, when and where to take all this medication to keep me going. Everybody wants me to do mental health wellness checks to make sure that my brain isn't lost, as I continue to fight the good fight people. And, I want to let you know that I don't do this with ill intent. And again, prayers go out to his family and anyone affected by this shooting. I'm just talking about what people are talking about right now, what's taking over the internet sensation. There's tons of people saying that he fiddled around with the ring and that it was taken in different camera shots and it was different moments in the conversation before the shooting and all this stuff happened. But there's a lot of wild stuff when they slow down the framework of these videos. You see things happening, that you don't see immediately, or you kind of just do kind of slightly in speed. Like in normal speed, the thing that was clipped to his shirt or appeared to be clipped to his shirt flies. But I assumed that was because he got hit with a bullet from a trajectory, and that it was just whiplash. And the hair situation, that's what I assumed at first as well. But then they slowed things down and zoomed in and did all this fantastical research. And that was raising a lot of questions. And people are questioning whether this stuff happened at all. Was this properly an organized event? Who attended this event? It seemed like some of the reactions were legit. So I don't know if they were testing to see if they could pull this off in front of people. And then, how believable it was, or if it really did happen. Because again, you just can't get on the internet and say whatever you want. So I'm going to put that out there. I don't need people just getting angry at me because I started talking about things that is happening currently on the internet. Is that the taboo to, talk about these things? We shouldn't have that issue. But again, they're saying that's why this man was killed in the first place, even though I question, was it about the FBI and these UFO videos that he was talking about, or this video that he revealed that he was being surrounded, his aircraft was being surrounded by UFOs, and that he could have been silenced over that, and the possibility of the knowledge that he could have acquired for whatever reason, I'm sure. But then you gotta wonder, are they doing this to push the Project Bluebeam? To continue the, the hype behind the arrivals of aliens. It's possibly less than 2 weeks away, they say now, because at first they said it was going to be November, but now they're saying that they could be showing up very sooner than later. You know, they also are predicting the time and date of Jesus' arrival, and they're saying that it's going to be soon. Are we being fucking manipulated? Is this it, people? Is this what it is? I don't know. I still wonder what is going on. I still question what is happening, and I find it all fantastical. And I don't know if you do, but hopefully you're gonna be here as we continue to go from day one all the way into Judgment Day. As they talking about, we're heading into Doomsday. We didn't even get that Avengers movie. We're hearing all sorts of wild stuff happening on the set, and it seems like they didn't even care to have a story. So what kind of wacky shit are they gonna put together with a cast of crew and characters? I don't know. But it seems like we don't have to worry about that entertainment as we're getting tons of this entertainment. And I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but, obviously it's keeping the internet lit. People are looking into this conversation. People are wondering what is happening in the world. And, how much time do we have before we have to deal with something that's catastrophically not natural? I don't know. But until then, people, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time out and checking out the show. Hopefully you are checking out my other videos, checking out my shorts, and hopefully I got a bigger, lengthier with the Avania, larger bulge than John Cena does in those jorts, Cody Rhodes. Anyway, just want to say, that I'm getting ready to crash out, and as my slogan goes, for the morning, afternoon, or whenever you wake up, hopefully, you'll remember to remember me.